I just wanted it audibly loud as it can be. I listen to rap, rock, and everything in between. 2, when you do your designs, is it possible to get a loaded one so I don't have to go to my local dealer and get the woofers? I can tell you one real quick.
Yeah.
I always ask how tall folks are. I have no idea how Pete starts his inquisition. When it comes to a pickup truck, the first thing I do, are you a midget like me, or are you 6'17"? I gotta know, because I've done enough of these pickup trucks now that I can tell by your height pretty much what kind of room we got behind this thing. I'll still need those dimensions to pass to him if you're going to do a vehicle specific piece, but yeah, I mean, look at this is the shallowest thing that we make right now. That's the T1508
S series.
That's the S series. That's the softer suspension prototype. And Pete has come up with some really badass stuff for that, by the way. We were just listening to in his car. Kick-ass. You'd be very surprised, by the way. So if this thing ever makes it out into public at some point, or let's say when it makes it out into public at some point, you'd be pleasantly surprised at how well this thing performs. Broadband, it's very nice, very, very nice. But Silverado, of course, you can make 2 8s work. He's very good at doing that. I would recommend that you get a hold of Pete and find out which one he recommends once you give him dimensions, because he knows the truck, but he doesn't know where that seat is going to be. So once you give him those dimensions,
the simple way to answer the question is yes, that'll work. They could definitely get loud. You just need room to make it happen.
People always ask me, aren't you cramped in that little hatchback of yours? And I'm thinking, what the hell do you people do in your cars? Because call me crazy, but I sit and drive.
Let's see. Quicksilver 56. Hey Pete, how do you feel about the transmission line theory? Like this one over on SteveMeadDesigns.com, whatever. The subwoofer enclosure section. I've heard it argued both ways and just wanted to know what your thought was about it. Also, will 2 DD2515s work in a 4th order bandpass off of a Rockford Fosgate T1K, or will it not be enough power?
Not enough power. To answer the question, yes, it'll work. It'll work at 1 watt, but odds are not for what you're looking for it to do. You would, in a 4th order, given that it's designed properly, you can feed a 2515 possibly, should I even say it? Upwards of 3,000 watts. Safely, within the enclosure's passband. Outside of the passband, you could ruin the woofer with much less power, but that's with any alignment. As for the first part of the question, the transmission line theory, I've stepped away from quarter wave theory a while back, especially as it applies to acoustics inside of a vehicle. The general idea that you see on forums is to simply take the woofer's freer resonance and split it into a quarter wavelength, derived quarter wavelength from that frequency, and then use some percentage of the woofer's piston area for the far end, for the throat of the line, and a separate percentage for the mouth of the throat of the line and for the mouth of the line. Now, the problem with that is it's a cookie cutter approach, which I've spoken on that subject in the previous Q&A. It doesn't really work the way you expect. It's kind of like tuning bass reflex enclosures to a certain frequency. There is no guarantee that it will perform well or down to that frequency. I think the most well-known in the consumer market, the most well-known example of this would be the Bose Wave Radio, the original one. Remember one of those? That thing has a transmission line in it that's 2.8 feet in length. Now, if you derive the quarter wavelength of that distance, that's roughly 98-99 hertz. And yet anyone who's heard this radio knows very well that radio will play nearly a full octave below that. The problem with quarter wave is that it does not allow you to make incremental changes to the target response that you're looking for based on the degree of the taper, based on where along the line the woofer is placed. You don't always want to have the woofer at the very end of the line. Something else. Let's see. What else could I think as far as the generic quarter wave approach? Well, the most important thing to remember is that quarter wave dynamics do not apply in the vehicle. I mean, effectively, what you're doing is you're delaying the back wave 90 degrees. Now, what good is that? And that's not entirely how transmission lines function anyway. So to summarize, I do not really subscribe to the design theory that is posted on that website.
So now, I'd like to go into the...
Basically, the opposing force is kind of like the centripetal force and centrifugal force. Well, centrifugal force is reactive. It's in some models, it's a hypothetical force.
What about impedance of coils and the way that those subwoofers react? Same voice coils. You got a 4 and a 4, dual 4 voice coil, and people will parallel them down. Not just talking about how you decrease B or L for the total of motor force, but when you're talking about, you were saying how a curve remained constant once you apply power to one in parallel.
You split your coil in half, but you give it twice the current carrying capacity.
Let's see. Next one is ABN winner. Been playing with the concept speaker, long throw. What is the value of a vented pole in the motor structure itself? Could one do away with the vent if there was a way to increase flux density? Just read my that I wrote down there. Since it was targeted at me. Basically, it's pure cooling capacity. Let's say it just being vented does not guarantee any better cooling effect at all. It is a balance between saturation of the pole, magnetic saturation of the pole, and its efficacy as a pump to cool the coil. So if it isn't an efficient pump and the coil is not already oversaturated, which means no matter what more magnet and everything else that you throw at this thing, if you haven't reached the capacity of that vented pole piece, then taking away the vent and going with a non-vented pole piece will definitely not assist you in saturation. So your BL will not go. The B of the motor will not go up.
And typically,
simply because
it's going to be oversaturated anyway. Most woofers are oversaturated as is. You can chip away the ferrite and it'll still have very similar B.
And you can see, what it takes to go up from there is a lot. You really have to throw a lot of magnet at something. Like with the Z series specifically. There's a small vent on those for a reason, and it's already oversaturated even at that point, but we have to have that vent. If you go with a larger one, you'll notice a lot of drivers use this really huge pole vent, and yes, those things are way oversaturated from day one, so you could probably take off a whole slug, a whole ring of a magnet, or one of the stack of 3, take it off of there, and still have the exact same flux density.
And even then, a woofer that's undersaturated will still perform better if it can reduce thermal impedance at its peak performance. Time C58.
Same one? Okay, my bad.
No,
So that's the
one.
same one, right? Same one?
No, next guy. Tom.
Tom, 58C. Okay, hold on.
58C.
Most pole vents, there aren't, here, no lie.
Oh, you're still getting proof?
Yeah, the coil, let's see. Most pole vents cut out there aren't worth the casting effort or the, much less the machining effort. There's if the thermal mass of the motor, including the coil itself, it is its own thermal mass, and the form that it's attached to, and If you do any radiating things above that, then you've got another mass to add to that. But if the thermal mass of the design is efficient or sufficient for the level of abuse it's intended to receive, then no vent is needed. If you increase in density, only happens if the vented version is oversaturated from the get-go. So, yes, the pole has its thing. I'm sure you guys have seen the one that's popular to this day still is the REMT.
Yeah.
It's not a vented pole piece. They could have done a vented pole piece with those magnets at that diameter and that top plate height, albeit small, with an extended pole, quite an extended pole, and could have had also the exact same thing. But